Hello, welcome back. Dr. Shipman, the convicted drug addict, murdered hundreds if not thousands of his patients and eventually went to jail. His wife, however, continued to receive his NHS pension, reported to be around £100,000 a year. Something wrong somewhere, no? Have any heads rolled at the GMC or BMA, General Medical Council, or the British Medical Association, as a direct result of their bad management in the Dr. Shipman case, or in any other cases where patients have been killed or injured? If not, why not? They happily take larger than life salaries for running these organisations which are supposed to monitor and police the medical profession. So why should they not also have to stand up and be counted when things go wrong? Who appoints the 14 members of the governing council of the General Medical Council? Who are these people? How did they get their jobs? What salaries do they enjoy? What other perks do they enjoy? This information is not available on the GMC website. This is a government-funded organisation, and we, their employers, have a right to the answers to these questions. It is almost impossible to get a doctor struck off the medical register. There are a series of 7 different committees the case has to go through, and this process can often take up to 2 years. And all that time the doctor that's maybe killed your husband or wife or child through incompetence is still working. And if committees number 3 or 6 decide not to take the case further, then you have no right of reply, and the case is dropped. You have no right of reply if they decide there's no case to answer. The medical profession. The committees are mostly chaired by doctors and a few friends of doctors from the public. The GMC is responsible for licensing 260,000 doctors in the UK. If we divide this number by the number of non-death blunders, in other words cock-ups and mistakes that are made by doctors, there's 860,000 of these every year. This shows that each doctor makes about 4 major cock-ups, blunders a year. Major, I'm talking about now. But how many doctors do we hear of that are investigated by anybody, GMC or anybody else? We don't, do we? Is this all being covered up? And if so, why? And can it be allowed to go on? Doctors' blunders cost the NHS £1 billion a year, of taxpayers' money that is, in extra care for these poor unfortunate patients. The money would pay for 3 million days of hospital care for people that need to be there. Dr. Andrew Horton, senior consultant at Leicester Royal Infirmary, misdiagnosed 600 patients, mostly children, with epilepsy and turned many of them into zombies with the wrong medication. This is a senior consultant and he's misdiagnosed 600 people, children mostly, with epilepsy. What's going on here? The GMC in their wisdom did not strike him off but only placed restrictions, inverted commas, restrictions on his work for 3 years. So he can go back to misdiagnosing people after 3 years, is that right? The guy should have been sacked. What, if any, compensation has been paid to these patients and their families? And anyway, how do you put a price on such a disaster? How are GMC management assessed? Is it in direct relation to the number of doctors struck off every year? Or is it in direct relation to the performance of doctors? These guys manage them. Well, on both counts they've failed. An average GP salary in 2007 is between £90,000 and £120,000. They do not have to work evenings or weekends, as that time is covered by agency staff, which is costing the NHS even more. The crazy thing is that many of the GPs that will sign on as agency staff, and they'll be the same guys doing the same work, but they're getting 3 times the rate of pay. And it's all coming out of your taxes and mine. NHS funds. The NHS is the largest employer in the UK, with a turnover of £94 billion. Billion pounds. That's a serious amount of money. And it employs 34,000 doctors. If the doctors were doing the job properly, then the hospitals would not be bursting at the seams with people that are sick. and coming back time after time looking for solutions to the problems. If the drugs and medication that was prescribed was working, the hospitals would be getting empty, not full. Doctors die on average 20 years younger than the rest of the population, and they have one of the highest suicide rates in the UK. That's right, isn't it? 1 in 15 has a drink or drugs related problem, and they are 3 times more likely to suffer liver problems. 1 in 4 leave the profession each year. The medical profession is in a terrible state. Terrible state. I'm not anti-doctor. I keep saying this. I'm not. Some of my best friends are doctors, and I worked with them all my life. But what goes on behind the scenes is a crime, and people like yourselves need to know about this, because you're dependent on it to help you and to make you save your life or your child's life, or to treat you professionally. When in fact it's not happening. There's only 1 allergy specialist working in the NHS for every 2.1 million people in the UK. There are only 5 full-time specialists. It is estimated that there are 18 million allergy sufferers in the UK. About 1 in every 3 of the population. There's a 2-year waiting list to see a specialist. Well, quite frankly, if it was a 10-year waiting list, it wouldn't make any difference when you get there, because most of the time it's not an allergy you've got, it's a food intolerance, and they're not looking at that. Look back at my first and second videos on YouTube, and you'll see that explained to you, the difference between an allergy and an intolerance. The cost to the NHS of treating a single allergy patient, listen to this is frightening. The cost to the NHS of treating a single allergy patient, if they're an inpatient, is £40,000. If they're an outpatient, it's £27,000. 1 person. What an incredible waste of taxpayers' money, when in most cases all that's needed is a simple food intolerance test. And I've proved it 10,000 times. £40,000 to treat 1 person in hospital for allergies, and they don't even come out cured in most cases, and £27,000 when they're in outpatient departments. £1 billion of NHS funds is used in the treatment of allergies each year. £1 billion. That's serious. What's that? Million. That's a lot of money wasted on a test that doesn't work in most cases. Okay, I'm going to leave you now. We're running a little bit tight on time on this video. Obviously I'll be doing the next one, so do tune into that and hear some more interesting facts and figures. All the very best now. Bye bye.